All right, says we are live. Hopefully, we can have better internet connectivity than I had Saturday night with Luke. Luke left me for about 5 minutes there while I had to go solo, but we handled it well. Dealing with adversity, sometimes you got to go beyond the X's and O's, just like the quarterback in today's game, right? Things don't always go according to plan. You have to be able to get out of that and make something happen. So, speaking of making something happen, Carl, welcome Tuesday night. Welcome everybody else building the Broncos. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Had my trip to Vegas this last weekend. I did get to see the Roomba.
Did you get a picture of you like squatting, just perfect angle, so it looked like you were, relieving yourself in it? We talked about this.
I felt like every time I got close to it, my skin was burning. I decided I'd stay away from it. But it's funny. I was talking to some local Vegas people about it, and I'd mentioned to them that it looks like a Roomba vacuum, and they had never seen it before, and they'd never heard anybody describe it that way. And they said, now I can never see it as anything but a Roomba vacuum. So thankfully, I got to ruin that whole stadium for a bunch of Vegas people.
Before the Raiders even can, right? Like before they tear everybody's heart. Speaking of Raiders, I mean, we don't want to go too far down this because today's about Justin Fields and a lot of Broncos talk. But I did see that Colton Miller became a very wealthy man. And, does that matter to the Broncos? Yeah, like Colton Miller, solid left tackle, yada, yada. But Garrett Bowles looking like a bargain compared to Colton Miller. And I would take Garrett Bowles over Colton Miller. So go Broncos, baby. That's what we like. Raiders. I feel like the Chiefs making good moves. Obviously, best quarterback. Chargers. They are. I mean, every year we say this about the Chargers, right? Oh, they're going to be great, and then they get injured, and they have, a swarm of hornets hit them or something. Who knows? But the Raiders, man, they have gotten much worse this offseason.
Yes. It was nice to see a lot of their moves to overpay players that have not been all that productive. I'd say Colton Miller's been at least average.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
But still, I mean, you're paying him top dollar for the position. Not quite top dollar, but you're that next tier below. Yeah. And at least Garrett Bowles played like a top 3 left tackle in football this last year. So Bronco fans, you got to be feeling really good about that contract right now, and that the Broncos have him locked up for the next few years, and can have that left side just locked down for whoever's playing quarterback. Hint, hint of what we might be talking about a little bit today. And it's kind of exciting to know that and that he's going to be a Bronco for a long time. That's for sure. Yeah. But Nick, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty well. It's a sunny day here, and man, we got a lot of people in the house today. We got Alexander Ludo, Robert Kitchens in the house, Red Panda. We got Michael Vigil, George Newton in the house. Holden Adams, what's up, Broncos country? How you doing, Holden? Always good to see you. We got Stu Meat in the house, Mr. Boggins, who we've had a little bit of talk today. Let's just get right into this before we even get to the ad read or anything, because it is the topic of the hour, and I think we'll have to get back to it as well. But Mr. Boggins coming in, another local here in the Pacific Northwest. Hi, just here to start things off. Justin Fields. Drooly face. Okay, I'm done. Justin Fields. All right. And then coming in again, Mr. Boggins, 17 games. Crazy. Cough. Justin Fields. Cough. All right. Well, he acts like he's got it out of his system, but I think we're going to talk about it a little bit more. That might get some people's hearts palpitating on both ends of the side, whether you're scared of Justin Fields or like him a lot, that's could go either way, but yeah. So it'll be fun.
Who would have thought that Justin Fields would be the most controversial quarterback of the top 4?
I don't, man, it is. Also, I appreciate you said top 4, because like Mac Jones, did you see the blip today of Bill Belichick? It's next to Josh McDaniels at the Mac Jones Pro Day. Oh man, he like lofted one too deep for his receiver. Supposedly accurate Mac Jones missing a ball down the field, and Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels look at each other, and Bill just the slow shake head. Yeah, it was. I mean, God, please, San Francisco, take Mac Jones. That would be incredible. And also Kyle Shanahan, great offensive system. Maybe he's a little bit too big braining it, but like I don't understand what you're doing moving up for Mac Jones. But anyway, it's sometimes the way it goes.
Yeah.
But we should definitely get into our ad read here before we get too far down, and also the intro to the show, since we're 5 minutes in and said hello to everybody.
Right. Yeah. And so, we want to definitely make sure to give our ad sponsor today a good shout out. We have Manscaped, of course, as our usual sponsor. And we want to let you know that we know that the last year has definitely been a tough one, but brighter times are ahead. I was in Vegas. It's starting to get picked back up. Some places are starting to open back up. People are getting the shots that they need. it's kind of getting excited for 2021. So that means that you need to embrace the new year, the new me mindset. And the best way to start cultivating that is with Manscaped. Manscaped is the best in men's below the waist grooming, offering precision engineered tools for your family jewels and helping 2 million men around the world keep their male grooming on point.
Yeah, guys, I know we always talk about it, but I'm going to spritz some on right now. I think the ad is up, so you can't do it, but the refined cologne, I use it. This smells great. I wear it pretty much every day before work. It's not too pungent. You don't want to be that guy in the office wearing too much cologne or something that's, too abrasive. And that's not the case with the refined cologne. Definitely. Although maybe, since we're keeping 6 feet of distance, people don't smell it as much, but it's wife approved. And, it doesn't really matter what I think. I'm not the best sniffer out there anyway, but the wife loves it, and that counts a lot for me. Also, crop mop. Went on a hike this weekend with the dog. Absolutely packed. A lot of people. Was not going to bust out the crop mop in front of everybody because I do not need to get in trouble again. No, I'm just kidding. Again. Backcountry. I got a couple backpacking trips up. I put another permit out there for the North Cascades. Everybody send good vibes, but talk about ultralight stuff. That's a necessity, or the luxury items when you go backpacking. Manscaped crop mop, backcountry, not a luxury item, a necessity.
All right. Well, we want to let you know that you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Your family jewels will thank you.
Yeah, guys, once again, you make sure you head on over to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping if you use the code HUDDLE. Again, that's HUDDLE, the code, for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. And I know a lot of people's brackets are busted, but make sure your balls aren't busted. Make sure you check out Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0 and check it out.
All right. We also want to let you know that you can follow us on Twitter. You can find me at Carl Dumler MHH and Nick at Nick Kendell MHH and John at John K. Why am I spacing the last part of it?
Can't see it now.
I know it's not there. But anyway, follow John. Great person behind the scenes for us. He's been on the show lately. I've seen. So that's great. John at John K MHH. There we go. I couldn't remember if it was MHH or not. If you were just like us. Thankfully, you are. But anyway, make sure you guys are following us. You can follow the BTB Football Pod at BTB Football Pod, and we post everything that we're doing on Tuesdays and plenty of other things. And then, of course, go to milehighhuddle.com. Make sure you're reading all of our articles that are coming out. I know, Nick, you've had a ton get posted here not too long ago. So head on over as Nick has plenty of information out there for you. And just make sure that you guys are liking, sharing, and just really helping us out with this video, and it just really helps us more than anything else just to get it out there to as many faces as possible. So like, share, give that little thumbs up for us. Really huge for us.
Yeah, 100%, guys. So we definitely want to get into it. I know that John has a couple supers coming down the tracks here, so let's get those going, and we'll talk some Justin Fields and just Broncos in general draft. I mean, obviously there's still some stuff that we can do. The Broncos can do before we get there. But Carl, you said you got to check a little bit of Justin Fields out today. I sat down over my lunch break, found the complete thing and watched it. And let me tell you, we talked about it a little bit before the show, but like the tools have obviously been obvious, like right the whole time. I don't know what we're talking about or overthinking at this point, right? Like there are questions on tape. Don't get me wrong. Like Trevor Lawrence is quarterback 1 in my book. I think that's pretty obvious. I don't know if you saw the Urban Meyer interview where he's like, he didn't say outright that they're taking Lawrence, but he's like, well, yeah, that's probably the direction we'll go because the ownership will make the decision. But it's like, yeah, duh. He wouldn't be in the NFL right now if it wasn't because of Trevor Lawrence, right? Like,
right.
He knew that he could get Trevor Lawrence.
That's the only thing that brought him out of retirement, because he had a pretty sweet gig, making lots of money, working half the year tops kind of thing. But the opportunity to work with Trevor Lawrence of all quarterbacks, you don't pass that up, and you don't overthink the situation. I know there's people out there that have Wilson as quarterback 1. I don't know. Some people mix up. I even saw somebody had Mac Jones as their quarterback 1 the other day. I'm like, what in the world? People are just getting crazy, and that's just where you're over evaluating, and sometimes those guys that have less tape get that bump that they shouldn't ever get. I don't know. It just gets all crazy this time of year. People just coming out with things because they get bored, or I don't know. And Trevor Lawrence, top guy. Number 2, though, is a huge argument of who should be there. I have Justin Fields there. Yeah. I think that, you look at the athleticism, you look at the accuracy that he shows on tape, you look at the toughness that he brings to the table. Yep. So we got some of Zach Wilson, and I'm not going to fault anybody for having a little bit different order. Like I said, I just think Trevor Lawrence, he's that guy that's very safe and very high ceiling at the same time. And so I think that's just an easy choice. Kind of like Andrew Luck versus RG3, where Andrew Luck, it's like, okay, you see the floor is really high and you see the ceiling is really high. And so you feel good about making that kind of pick because you know you're going to get at least an above average quarterback at the least. And with Trevor Lawrence, you know you're getting at least an above average quarterback, a top 12, 13 quarterback in the NFL from just the bottom part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still some risk. I'm not going to completely. Yeah, injury could happen. They are the Jaguars. But the rest of them, yes, it could vary big time on what you think. Like I said, for me, just Justin Fields, I look at the athleticism. I look at guys that can go out there I think he's like Lamar Jackson, not quite to his level of athleticism, but he's just that tier below. And so when you got that running ability plus a greater arm, greater ability to throw, yes, like this video. Thank you, Mohammed. And it just, to me, he's that guy that I feel like if the play breaks down, this is the guy I want throwing the football for me.
I mean, Carl, I know it's going to be boring because it's this time of year where everybody's fluctuating their opinions, but since November, we've been on here saying, like, if the Broncos have a chance at one of these 4 top quarterbacks, I'm sorry, guys, I'm not buying in Mac Jones, at least in the top 10. I would definitely take him, like, pick 28 to 32 to get that 5th-year option and, like, roll with a cost-controlled quarterback that can be a point guard for your offense, but I'm not taking a pure point guard in the top 10 in the year 2021 of, where we're at. I've been here. I've been saying Trevor Lawrence number 1, but after that, it's pick your flavor of ice cream. Do you want Zach Wilson? Great. I love him. Sign me up. Do you want Justin Fields? Hell yeah. Justin Fields is my 2 quarterback, but he's kind of like 2A. And then Trey Lance, my 2C or 2B, whatever. Like I would take any of those guys. And I think it was with you last Saturday, maybe it was last Tuesday, but it's like, Nick, what would you do right now? I would have traded up to 4 last month. I'd have been like, I love all 4 of these quarterbacks. And if I can get to 4 and guarantee I'm getting one of them, hallelujah. And that's maybe Atlanta's not interested in trading up to 4. In that case, I probably would have traded up to 3. But still, like I'm interested. I think they're all great. And it's not that Drew Lock can't be a good quarterback, but we don't know that yet. You only have 2 years left to know. And you're picking at the top, you're picking at 9 you're not expecting to be up here next year. And you have a chance to go get one. I mean, think about how much it took for the 49ers to get up from 12 to 3. How high is it going to take for the Broncos to get up in what is very likely a lesser quarterback class in 22 from, let's say, pick 17? It's not happening. Like, and the worst case scenario is you're like too good, and you're like, okay, we have too good of a roster. We can't go for a quarterback. Let's pay Andy Dalton $15 million a year. Like, where's the nearest building, right? I'll eat myself off, like not for it. But speaking of not eating myself off here or eating something, Stew Meat coming in with the $1.99 super sticker with the smiling fox, maybe some sort of marmot ferret. And so thank you very much, Stu. Fox. What does the fox say, right? Really appreciate that, Stu. I can't tell. It looks like maybe a Louis. I was at the Denver covering him. I can't tell if that's a D or like the back of head of a cardinal on his mask. But either way, Stu, we appreciate you a heck of a lot. And, always good to see you around here and dropping knowledge for us. Hello from Hawaii. All right. Michael Crabtree coming in. Be careful of the chains. Talib might be down there. Paul Jackson, evening country. Yeah, evening to you, Paul. Good to see you rocking the Mile High Huddle hat as well. We really do appreciate that. So, Carl, I think a lot of the topics here, a lot of the people in the chat just have general opinions and conversations about the pro day circuit in general for quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. So what do you take from that? Obviously, they're throwing against air. It's very scripted. But there is stuff you can take away from it. I not the flex. Drove down from a little humble abode in Iowa down to Columbia, Missouri a couple years ago to go check out Drew Lock's pro day because I knew the Broncos were interested and I was close and I had family in Columbia. So I'm like, this is perfect. Let's get some access. Let's go watch Drew Lock. Got to ask him a couple questions, talk with Jordan Palmer as well. I had an exclusive one with him. That was fun. And Drew Lock's pro day, it was good. It was a good pro day. I thought you saw the traits, the tools, the athleticism where I'm like, okay, I would take a first round pick on this guy. He might bust, but I think the tools are there and Broncos played it very well. Good process to trade back and still get the guy they wanted. Obviously it hasn't worked out to date, but the future's yet to be written. But Justin Fields' pro day today was probably the best I've seen of any of the quarterbacks out there. I mean, you saw the athleticism, obviously ran a 4.440. What does that mean? Who cares? Even if he ran a 4.540, that's blazing. He came in 6'3", 225 pounds, I think, which is maybe give or take a few digits there. But good size. I think over 9-inch hands. It was like 9.25. So that's fine as well. And then just ripping the ball out there. I know a lot of people are more in on the Zach Wilson train, but this to me just more confirmed that if I'm going with a quarterback at 2, if I was the Jets, I would be going Justin Fields because he is a more known quality or a more known quantity. And I feel like it's really, I don't know what it is. Maybe there's off the field concerns with Justin Fields. Maybe there's something else there, but the tape there's so much high end tape and you have it over a bigger sample size. Like the reason that nobody's like pinning their ears back and like saying, oh my God, look at this game at Zach Wilson where he was bad. It's because he doesn't have the sample size of Justin Fields, right? Like Justin Fields had 2 bad games, Indiana, Northwestern. They were not great. He's missing Chris Olave for one of them, but it was fine. Like he still was fine. And in the Clemson game, he was great. In that Alabama game, you're going to hold the Alabama or the Ohio State defense giving up 50 over against Justin Fields when he's playing with cracked ribs. Not for me. I don't know what we're doing there, right? But we got Blue Ra coming in here looking like he's prone, doing some Call of Duty stuff going on there. Blue Ra. I don't even know who to draft anymore. Well, you know what? Neither do I. I have opinions. That's why you guys are here. That's why we're on this one. But Blue Rock coming in with back-to-back, doing it back-to-back. All right, like draft a quarterback that changes your team for the next decade, best player available, or trade down for more picks. Can it be draft day already? We're less than a month away now, Carl. What do you think about here with Blue Ra's laying it out here? What would be your plan? But let's break it down one by one. So trading up for a quarterback. Let's say you can get to. Are you trading up to 4 or 5? And how soon could you do that? Would you replicate the 49ers move to get up to 4 today? Or do you think you'd hold back and being like, well, I'll take a chance. Maybe it's going to cost less than what the 49ers moved up to 12-3 because it should from 9-4.
Yeah, I would trade up to 4. I'm not going to 5 because then I'm worried about draft day, somebody trading up. And I have a tough time believing that any team out there really has 5 quarterbacks that they're really okay with. You're going to have one of these guys that you're just not going to like as much. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that would be a lot of risk to trade up. And then you get stuck with a guy that you're going, oh my gosh, what am we doing? And so if I can get to 4, really feel a lot better about, hey, I'm for sure getting one of my top 4 guys, I'm going to be doing that. And right now, I mean, I am kind of quarterback no matter what mentality. I shouldn't be that way, but it just, this team, when you're looking at the starting lineup from the offense to the defense, you're seeing a team that's very primed to go do some big things. Mm-hmm. And like we said, Drew Lock, only 2 more years of control, starting quarterback from first round pick. You got 5 years of control. That is just such a big difference. And so then you don't worry about, hey, we can go pay Cortland Sutton. We can even overpay him and still feel good about our situation. Yeah, you can Draymond Jones coming down the road. You can go ahead and pay that guy. Chubb. Chubb. Yeah, that's the other one that I was thinking of. Chubb, you can pay him, and it's not a big deal at all. You can keep adding cornerbacks through free agency and fitting them into the system and paying them decent money, and you can afford that secondary that the Broncos have right now. That's an expensive secondary. Yeah. If you want to keep that past this year, you're going to have to make some decisions there at the quarterback position because you can't afford Drew Lock and that secondary if he's going to get paid, even decent quarterback money. And even average
about, $10 million in a year where it's a lower salary cap,
right. So even average quarterbacks are getting big money. So it just that's the name of the game when it gets to that kind of position. Like I said, I have my order of quarterbacks that I like, but I can get on board with any of them because I feel like there's a system out there that makes them work. You just have to have an offensive coordinator that's willing to adjust to the talent that you have.
Yeah. Sidebar real quick, offensive coordinator. Before I was kind of more of a Shermer not pacifist, apologist, injuries last year, new system, quarterback was throwing away the ball like crazy, not super accurate in the quick game. Those are all things that make issues with, running your offense in general, right? Like he operates 100 times better in play action than the non-play action, but like Shermer wants to run from the shotgun. So actually how much play action can you actually use, et cetera, et cetera. But little birdie told me that the Broncos, specifically Shermer, is interested. His number 1 plan is Nick Foles and Najee Harris. Get out of here, Shermer. I'm done. That's enough for me to just no, you lost any goodwill or, patience from me. Get out. Speaking of, don't get out of here. Brian Greenfield coming with the super chat from YouTube. Love the MHH pods, Brian. We love you. Thank you so much for showing some support and some love. We really do appreciate that. And everybody, all the super chat superstars, you guys are fantastic and really just help to keep the lights on in here. Speaking of another one, best show ever, showing up with Brian Bowman with Zach and Chad over his shoulders. Ooh, I don't know which one's the angel and which one's the devil there. You know, you got to let me know. I think it's more of a Carl and me. I'll be the devil. I can even do like the Ace Ventura horn hair, and Carl, obviously the man of the cloth over here. But thank you, Brian. Go Broncos, and we really do appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. And Daheim, sure, that's what we'll go with. Of course, the picture of the monkey. Oh man, that's always a fun one. But really appreciate the $10 super chat. Unless Denver trades up to 4, I don't see a Denver trade happening before draft day. Looking at just the skill set, where does Darnold fit in with the top 4 draft picks? Hashtag Nick's REI fund. There you go, Nick.
It was just a $20 coupon for them. So, now I got the devil horn actually coming up on that one. So what's going on? But that's I think Darnold, I would have him as the 5th quarterback right now. I think he would actually be pretty close for me with him and Zach Wilson, given I think there are a lot of similarities there with the off-platform ability to get out, but not always the best in structure. And, you don't really know about them under pressure as much, at least Darnold coming out of USC. You cannot look at them in a vacuum as much, because Darnold is you have to make a decision right away. If you trade for him, you have to make a decision right away if you're going to accept that 5th-year option. I can't imagine any team doing that, because I think it's like just under 19 million. That's probably not happening. Right. So that's 1 year of control. And also maybe he's damaged goods at this point, right? Like there's been 3 years in New York with a bad system surrounded by a bad team that we're not sure. He could be mentally fried. There's that video of him. Everybody made memes about it, but I'm seeing ghosts. Well, playing with Gase on a terrible New York team with kind of the little bit, not such the alpha personality as Sam Darnold, that might fry a guy. So I mean, you cannot discount all those other factors.
Right. Yeah. He'd be number 5 for me. And I like Darnold, but just the situation with the contract. And like I said, I think he's developed a lot of really bad habits, and it's going to take a lot to break him of that. It's the same problem I have with Drew Lock too. They both have really bad habits that have not been fixed. For Darnold, they've gotten worse while he's been in the NFL. Lock, we haven't had as big of a sample size to be able to tell one way or the other, but I'd say his footwork got worse from his rookie year to his second year. I thought he improved a little bit his rookie year from what I saw in college, which gave me some hope of, hey, maybe this guy's really turned around, maybe getting some good coaching. That's making all the difference. And then he came back this second year, and all those bad habits were right back where they were before. I don't know if everything that's been going on with just not having an offseason, not getting around the coaches as much, if that made that kind of difference on him. But it just that's why I've really cooled off a lot when it comes to Drew Lock, is because I thought, hey, he's starting to show some signs that he might take that next step, and then it's 1 step forward to 3 steps back. And
so for me, for Lock, it's more so for me for Lock, and I feel like I have this kind of persona starting to get on Twitter where I'm becoming the heel, and I make memes for the sake of content because, gosh, if the Broncos are going to be bad, at least let's laugh about it, right? Yeah. But I think the biggest thing with me, it's not so much it's anti-Lock, it's how spectacularly I view these top 4 quarterbacks.
Yep.
Right. And that's the biggest thing. You have to have that conversation, right? Don't be afraid to move on from average if you can chase greatness, right? Especially at the quarterback position. Quarterback position, I've said it 100 times on here. I'll say it again. It's a home run derby, right? I would rather strike out than take a base on balls, because you have to get home runs in the quarterback position. Otherwise, and what are we doing?
And I love that you pointed out that, you look at the teams that have traded up for quarterbacks, and sometimes those quarterbacks have not worked out. Well, they've still been successful teams since then. It doesn't completely destroy your team to trade up for a quarterback.
And
what does destroy your team?
They retained, Carson Wentz was worse than Drew Lock last year, right? He had some high-end traits, high-end tape earlier on, but he was worse than Drew Lock last year. And what did the Colts give up for him? That was a really good return. Yeah. So as long as you have a quarterback, let's say in a vacuum, if Sam Darnold and Saquon Barkley were available right now for trade, I think Sam Darnold's getting a bigger return because of that positional value, and the draft pedigree retains value even if they've played badly multiple seasons. So that's just even if you're investing and you miss, you still have they do retain some value over time. Right.
All right, let's get to Andy Cowick here coming in with this $10 super chat. Really appreciate that. Can we please kill the narrative that quarterbacks from certain schools can't be successful based off past player successes, failures? Fields could be great even if Haskins wasn't. So here's my question. what school would you consider to be quarterback you?
I would probably say, man, I don't know. I thought one would come to my mind pretty obviously, but nothing really did off the top of my head. I'm still thinking maybe Ole Miss because they had Eli and Archie, but like I don't know. Like that's a tough one.
Right, and so that just shows that there's no school, there's no set program, there's no set offensive scheme that you're sitting there saying this is what develops quarterbacks.
Oklahoma recently.
I guess you could say Oklahoma a little bit there, yeah. But beyond that, there's just not a school out there. Texas Tech, most people are like, oh man, this school, their system, that air raid system just doesn't produce any kind of quarterbacks. And now it has the best quarterback in football. Where Aaron Rodgers was, Cal, the system he was in, everybody was like, this does not work well in the NFL. This guy that has no chance. And boom, he's just won MVP. So right there, I think we just have to make sure that you're looking at the traits of the player, nothing else. But all right, Chris Hernandez coming in here. Cheers. Thoughts on the 17-game season and 3-game preseason. # click those little thumbs up, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Chris, for the super there coming over on YouTube, rocking the gator and the mug. Make sure you guys check out the store, as well as Chris is obviously a patron there. And cheers. Also, I need to get myself an adult beverage after the show is over. I came in right from work, so I didn't get a chance to grab one. But thoughts on the 17-game schedule and 3-game preseason. It is interesting. It's pretty much a dichotomy between the reason it passed is because all these young players didn't want a lockout. And so they're like, okay, we're going to vote for this. And then the old players are like, whoa, no, because they already had their money. And the players didn't. The younger guys don't have a nest egg, right? Like they need that cash compared to the older guys. So it passed because of that, but it was completely split from that way. I mean, just like all freaking votes these days, right? Everything's split one way or the other. But I think, I mean, more football, that's good in a vacuum. However, with how the Broncos have been playing recently, and there's nothing more painful than, I mean, it's better than no football, but like a meaningless week 16 game where the Broncos are playing like Detroit or something. Oh my gosh. Like I'll watch it because I'm, give me all the pain, but that's gotta be tough for everybody. And it's also gonna be tough for the players, right? Like to keep up there, keep risking injury, even if you're not playing for anything at that moment. But I think it's inevitability. At some point we'll get the 18-game schedule and a two-game preseason and more money for the NFL. And right, I guess it's a good thing because guys get paid more then. I'm happy just for the more games and more. I mean, imagine if we had another extra game to evaluate Lock, right? Feel already a little bit upset that we didn't get to see him versus New Orleans because the Broncos offense took off directly correlated with Melvin Gordon taking off and going against that New Orleans run defense. Maybe we would have actually seen a little bit more of like, okay, what happens when the run game isn't working? Didn't get to see that. But that's my thoughts. And we got Muhammad coming in here as well. Braun and St. Carl in the house. St. Carl. Carl, what do you think about that one? The patron saint? What are you the patron saint of?
I guess Bronco hats. I don't know.
Oh man, I put it on a tee for you. What was that? Jake Kane coming in here, $4.99 on YouTube. Thank you so much, Jake. I haven't seen you around these parts before, but thank you very much for the question. Eric Stokes, you have? Okay, well, yeah. I respect the king. If Eric Stokes is available at pick 40, would it be a reach to take him there? He's my favorite cornerback in the class, and you can never have enough of them. Carl, on a dish for you. What do you think?
Okay, yeah. I think it would be a decent pick at that point. He's not my favorite cornerback. I mean, you saw some of the testing where straight line speed, the guy can compete with anybody. You ask him to start going some sideline to sideline stuff, and you do see some hangups in his game. Mm-hmm. And so that is a worry for me, but I do think he could be a decent fit in this scheme. He's got that click and close ability. He's got, he's aggressive. He has no problem taking on anybody that's out there. And so I do think it's a decent fit. It's just there's other cornerbacks that I definitely have ranked above him right now.
Yeah, I like Eric Stokes a lot. His agility drills do scare me. I think he was like in the 5th percentile and like 7th percentile for his 3-cone shuttle and his 20-yard shuttle, which that would be not as much of a concern if he didn't also look stiff on tape. So that just kind of confirms the tape when you have those testing metrics. But he is extremely explosive in a straight line, and he's got good size. Pick 40, this is such a kind of a pussyfoot around it. Like, I would like to see what the rest of the board looks like at that point. But if the Broncos took him at 40, I 110 billion% agree with your last point. You can never have enough cornerbacks, right? That's a position we've seen it the last 2 seasons with the Broncos. Once the defense, I mean, you lost Von Miller, you lost all these guys, didn't implode completely until the cornerback room was shredded. And in the AFC West, which is quickly becoming the Big 12 of the NFL, given all the speed and the quarterback play, you got to have depth at cornerback. And even though the Broncos, you have 4 guys right now, if they want to take another one, especially with 2 of them coming up on the last year of their contract and another one with injury concerns, I don't think you can overinvest at the cornerback position at this point with how the roster is currently constructed. So Stokes at 40, I could see it. Want to see what the rest of the board looks like, but emphatically agree with your last point.
Stu McPeak coming in here with a $9.99 super chat. Stu, I got to go ride some planes this week, and definitely missed being on some planes. But who's our number 1 pick is what Stu brings that into the table. Oh, man. This is honestly, the Broncos are such a wild card this year. Like the last few years, we've kind of known. Last year, we knew wide receiver was pretty high on their board. That at least within the first 2 picks, they are going wide receiver. This year, they really could go so many. They could add to any position on the roster, and you could be other than like kicker, fullback,
running back,
punter, running back. Yeah,
no, still they might be.
I know it's true. They might go that way, but really, you could say, okay, that makes sense. They don't really have a huge hole on the offense or defense right now, but at the same time, they have some spots that you're like, yeah, that deserves an upgrade, or yes, that's a position like cornerback where you're going to need a guy next year for sure that's going to be in there starting for you. So I don't know. So much depends on especially what San Francisco does there at pick 3.
And the Falcons at 4.
Yeah. I'm hearing from a lot of people lately. It does seem like Mac Jones is the guy that they're going to take.
I don't buy it. I can't. I can't until I see that name come across the screen. I'm not going to believe it.
Okay, but let's say if they do, and all of a sudden, there's Trey Lance. I know the Broncos are high on Trey Lance. They really like him. If he's there at pick 4, I think they're going to try pretty darn hard to get up there and get that guy.
Yeah,
but if 49ers take Trey Lance, then I'm sure the Broncos are starting to think maybe we should trade back. I don't know. We'll see what they think of Justin Fields. I know like you said, there's some concerns there. There's some that are talking about teams have been really questioning him a lot about his transfer from Georgia to Ohio State. Why would he do that? Why didn't he stay and compete? So here, Dave from Georgia must be a Georgia fan. Don't get me wrong. Fields is a talented player, but in the back of my mind, I'm remembering he couldn't beat out Jake Fromm on a talented Georgia team.
I think Fields was a true freshman, even though he was either the first or second rated quarterback in that class, 1A and 1B with Trevor Lawrence coming into college. And Jake Fromm was the incumbent, and they had a lot of success with him the year before. So it would have taken something seismic for him to beat out Jake Fromm. Also, we're kind of seeing it right now with what's going on with Georgia. Like, they really like that pocket, limited arm talent quarterback. Sorry for the JT Daniels fans out there, Carl. But it's just like, give me more, right? I need more. And they'd rather play like that early Alabama defense that, I don't know if you saw the recent Alabama interview with Saban talking about how his philosophy has changed. It was really awesome. Georgia's still kind of in that older Alabama where it's like defense and run the ball. And that's not really where the game is going, especially the college game. You got to score points, and the more the better. I think I wouldn't put too much weight into it unless there are specifics behind the scenes that we are not privy to. And hopefully whatever teams are digging right now, we'll find some. But going back to Stu real quick, I got a gut feeling. I have a gut feeling for the Broncos right now. What are they going to do? I think the Broncos trade back from 9. I think they trade into the kind of 19 to 25 range. I think they end up taking Penn State edge rusher Jason Owa. I think that's what's going to happen. That's just, I feel it in my core. So we'll see. Everybody's like, oh, Micah Parsons. Everybody talks about Micah Parsons like he's the only linebacker in this class. This is a great linebacker class. It's not like Kyle Pitts where it's like Kyle Pitts and then falls off. Like, there's a bunch of top 100 linebackers. But I think we said it on Saturday. Broncos were, going to College Station to check out, obviously, Micah Parsons as well, but that wasn't the main attraction. It was that edge rusher, Jason Owa. So we'll see. They got eyes on him. Go ahead, Carl.
All right. Dennis Woods coming in here with a $10 super chat. Really appreciate it. Do you guys know Tim Jenkins?
Timmy, be sure to
and he's made YouTube videos evaluating the top quarterbacks. He says Mac Jones is the most pro-ready of any of them. Thoughts? I'd say that's wrong. I'd say that Trevor Lawrence is the most pro-ready of all the quarterbacks. I mean, the guy has 3 years of starting experience, where Mac Jones has 1. I mean, so just the number of games started does make a difference. It's not the end-all, be-all, but I do think there's something to say just getting that on-field experience and getting more tape out there, working through different things where teams are going to make adjustments to you and what you bring to the table and what you like to do, what you don't like to do, and seeing how you adjust then once they adjust. You get to see that with Trevor Lawrence. I think also Trevor Lawrence, one of the smartest guys at the quarterback position that has really been in college football in a long, long time. And not saying Mac Jones is stupid or anything like that. I think he's a very smart guy, but I still think that Trevor Lawrence is more pro-ready. I'd put Justin Fields ahead of him too in that category as being more pro-ready. And
yeah, I mean, how many of these quarterbacks are actually running a lot of pro style concepts, right? Like you're talking about, like, if you're talking Mac Jones, like half of his plays are RPOs or bubble screens or like 9 routes, right? There's not a lot of actually like difficult throws on tape. They don't ask him to do a lot in that regard. Now, that doesn't mean he can't come in and do pro style stuff, because he can navigate a pocket. Looks like he makes some pretty good reads back there from what I can see. One thing I will say though is pro ready. Okay, sure, that's fine, but he better be, because he's the one who has the least amount of tools to fall back on. If he's not pro ready, like what, then there's not really an argument to take him earlier, because he's one that needs the offensive line to be functioning. He needs the wide receivers to get space, because he is not creating beyond the X's and O's like the other top quarterbacks he's going against. So he better be.
So let me ask you this question, see if you know this. Which quarterback of the top 5 quarterbacks had the lowest percentage of RPOs run?
It's got to be Justin Fields.
It is Justin Fields.
Yep. They don't. I mean, there are a lot of option routes at Ohio State, but they don't really utilize the RPO that much, which is crazy because you have a 4.40 quarterback. But here we are.
Yeah, the most athletic quarterback of the top 5, and they don't use RPOs.
Trey Lance, maybe he didn't run.
That's true. It'd be close between the two.
Yeah,
but different running styles for sure. All right, AJ Zillinger coming in. Hey guys, what are some 5 through 7 round guys you like?
I have a couple here. Every single Hawkeye that you can take late, I'm in, baby. Chauncey Golston, Nick Neiman, Brandon Smith. No, I mean, those are all fine options. I really would like Doyle from Miami, Ohio. I think he's a solid tackle prospect. Actually, I got to see him firsthand against Iowa, where he took on and actually gave AJ Epinesa struggled more against Doyle than he did Rashawn Slater. So take that as you will, but it is what it is. So I like Doyle a fair amount that late. I also, there's running backs there. The Elijah McGuire, the Louisiana Lafayette one. He just had his pro day, good numbers. That's a running back you want to take late. I really like Kylan Hill from Mississippi State. And my philosophy on running backs is you can find them day 3 every year. So I'm looking for the back end here for those guys that kind of turn that you can take, like Chris Evans, another one who kind of got lost in the shuffle at Michigan, but he's a good receiver. Those are the guys that I'm looking at. If you're looking for a running back, especially with how the Broncos contracts are set up right now, you don't have to use a top 100 pick on the running back position. You can find guys late every year. And those are some guys that I like for that. Okay.
Good choices. All right.
Oh, we got the blank from Dave Glassman. Thank you so much, Dave. Maybe it's a super sticker, but keep talking, says John. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. No, we got a Cradam coming in here of the $4.99 super. Thank you so much, Cradam. Maybe I'm missing something, but why no OTAs and other organized activities? Very beneficial for young players. Our offense being so young can help. I think this is because the product did not suffer this year. You didn't have OTAs and the product was still really good. So the players, the NFLPA is pushing against having them. I do think we still may have some. I'm not sure if that's official yet or not. It might be something like, 2 weeks rather than the 4 weeks that they'd usually do. They're going to figure out a way to get them in there somehow. I mean, we do have vaccines available now that are highly effective and working. So don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. But I think we will have something. It'll just be a little different.
I think April 17th, the Broncos are supposed to have their first OTAs.
Okay.
From what I understand, I think it's sometime in April. They're having their first real team get together. I think it's voluntary. They don't have to show up for those yet. But I think there's going to be still anything they can do online, they're probably still going to do online. for at least this off season. Hopefully by next season, we're back to normal ways of doing things. But I think the other part of it is there's a lot of guys out there in the NFL that kind of like not having to come to the stadium every single day, that getting to stay home, getting to do their workouts on their own. Coaches and like to do some of that where they can really bring it up on film, do all those kind of things. I know a lot of them actually liked how the draft was done last year, where they could stay at their own, how they have their setup and everything. They kind of liked it. So you might see some of this get actually adapted once even things get back to normal, still stay within the system, just because, one, it saves some money where not everybody's having to drive to, let's say, Las Vegas and set up all their team facilities and everything else. I mean, you saw it with the Broncos. What was it? The Combine. They didn't bring Fangio's the only one that came, and some of their scouts and stuff like that, but they left the other coaches to watch film. So, all right, we got Levi Hope coming in here wearing the great shirt. Always love it. Always great content. What's more likely, Paton trading up for a quarterback or getting a quarterback later in the draft?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I would say getting a quarterback later in the draft. It just, there's so much risk involved. I mean, especially Paton starting right off the bat. You're throwing a quarterback into a crazy situation of, one, you have a coach that possibly could be fired next year. So you'd have to start over with a whole new coaching staff and find one that really believes in the quarterback that you draft. You're putting a lot of eggs in the one basket of saying, hey, maybe we do trade 3 first-round picks to go get this guy. And so now all of a sudden you've lost that draft capital that he has really said, hey, we're building through the draft. And obviously Minnesota, they set the example of, hey, we're trade back and get as many eggs in the basket as you possibly can to diversify, and, hey, hopefully something works out. And so I think there's more of a chance that he trades back, especially now that 49ers moved up. That was the one move. I thought if the 49ers stayed at their spot, or the Patriots or whoever behind them, the Broncos stood a chance to really be able to be that team that traded up. Now that's going to be much tougher because you're talking about possibly 3 quarterbacks right off the bat. You better like that 4th one. And I don't know if the Broncos like that 4th one yet.
Yep, I agree. I'm not sure on who the quarterback later is, but there is a cost for going up for that guy. I mean, there's still teams that might be trying to go get up, and what happens with Atlanta, right? Like, Atlanta might just say, this is a great quarterback class. We're not going to have a chance for another guy next year. Let's go.
Yep, that is for sure. All right, Dave from Georgia coming back again. Really appreciate that with a $10 super chat. I'm floating the idea to go to 18-game schedule, expand the active roster to 57 to 58 players. No player can play more than 16 games. Hashtag Broncos country. Hashtag let them hate. Hashtag state of being. So this would be interesting because, one, your quarterback can only play 16 games. So you're either picking 2 games that you're for sure like, we're probably going to lose this game, or you're having to really invest in that backup quarterback to hopefully steal one of those games. It's kind of like that whole having 3 really, really good starters in baseball as pitchers and hoping you can split between the 4th and 5th starter, that you can get maybe 1 win out of those. And those 3 better keep winning like crazy. But I'm really torn on this idea because I feel like you're putting a lesser quality product on the field when you especially are taking those starting quarterbacks, those star players off the field for 2 games a year.
I'm not tuning in to watch football to watch Brett Rippon play quarterback. Like I'm sorry. It's a quarterback driven league. It's a star driven league. And unless you're an absolute psychopath like we are, also, I don't need my star quarterback playing behind a 3rd string right tackle, Jake Rodgers. I don't need that happening. You're risking injury and not putting your best guy out there. So I think it's a really interesting idea. And I appreciate the thought there, but I would not get behind that. I want my good players to play. I would, if anything, throw in another extra 2 bye weeks where they can get some time off, make the season start a little earlier or something. I bet you they would prefer that. So we'll see, but I can't get behind watching lesser talent out there. I want to see the stars play. Yeah. Speaking of stars, Cody Potter coming in here, always a friend of the show with the super. Thank you so much, Cody. I had an idea for the 17th game. I think they should schedule one of those games every week in Hawaii in the Pro Bowl Stadium and make it Thursday night in Hawaii. Plus, it's kind of a vacation. Okay, well, a couple things here. A, the logistics of going to Hawaii every single time is kind of tough. Also, apparently the Aloha Stadium, or whatever, is falling apart. Like it's horrible, dilapidated. So maybe if the NFL wanted to pay for a new stadium to be built there, that's one thing. But like players didn't want to go there anymore. It's beautiful in Hawaii, but like you're risking injury in a very terrible venue with like terrible surface, et cetera, et cetera. And that's, I mean, we saw what happened a couple years ago at the Mexico game, right? They're like, oh my God, it was that really awesome Los Angeles Chiefs game. Los Angeles versus Kansas City. They were going to play in Mexico and they moved it. We don't need to have that with it being in Hawaii, even making it harder with logistics. I like the idea, but that stadium will not deal. That's the whole reason that they're not even doing things in Hawaii right now, because that stadium is bad. We got Cody Potter coming in again. Speaking of superstars, Cody, thank you so much. Do you think Surtain could be like K-Jack and be a cornerback safety hybrid? Interesting. Carl, what do you think?
I think K-Jack had a lot more click and close ability coming out of college, and I still think you see a lot of that in his play from the safety position. That would be my one thing with Surtain, that I don't know how much he's really good at coming downhill and making plays. He does a lot more where he's really at press man corner, getting up in the face, and then turning and running. Where he's got the size, he's got some pretty decent speed. He was a little bit faster than I thought he'd run his 40, but he's got enough size to really stay with those guys going down the field. His ability to actually come downfield, that's where you really begin to have some questions. And so, I really struggle with that idea of cornerbacks moving to safety.
Yeah,
I think it's easier said than done. There are some guys that do it well, and that's great for them. But there's a lot of other guys that they've tried that before, and nothing. They had nothing for the position. And so it's a whole different game when you're talking safety compared to corner.
Yeah, I will push back just a little bit. Not too much. I do agree with you, especially the tape from the last 2 seasons with Surtain, that, boundary press corner, maybe some cover 3, cover 2, where he can be physical at the line of scrimmage, not really rely on that click and close, but he does have experience playing star. He played star his sophomore year with Alabama, his freshman year, where he was that nickel player cornerback, which is a little bit more of a safety cornerback hybrid. And he's a good enough tackler, physical, very good with his run fits, et cetera, that I think could see it. You're probably giving up a little bit with the ability to come down and play off coverage. But I think that there is some ability to do it there. It's not as clean of a 1-for-1, but I would not completely write it off. We got Dane coming in again. Baron Browning and Pete Warner impressed today. Yes, good call, Dane. Talking about earlier, everybody's like acts like it's Parsons and nobody. Hello. Both these guys, day 2, I'm okay with that. Eric said Pete Warner is a Josie Jewell type. I'm sorry, he's much bigger and much more athletic, and that's coming from an Iowa fan. Eric, if you're listening out there. But impressive pro day. Do you think Browning lasts to 40? That's a good question. I think it's a coin flip. I think Browning could be there at 40. There's been a lot of push up lately with Browning isn't the guy who's been making this crazy rise. It's Jamin Davis from Kentucky. I think Mel Kiper had him like 14th on his big board today. All right, so like he's flying up. But I would love Browning at 40 if he was there, and if that's a much better value than going Parsons at 9. They're like the same athletic profile, but you're taking a guy with way less off the field risk and actually has more tape. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but good question. And both those guys deserve a shout out and recognition because they did have very good pro days today. And then there was Tough Borland, who, oh man, what a tough showing. Not great. Yeah, trying to catch up with Devonta Smith in that national championship game will probably be his what'll stick in my mind with him forever. We got CC coming in. Oh man, Tough Borland would be great coverage guy against us. I think against like you and me, he might be able to cover us. Although Carl played wide receiver in high school, guys, don't discount small Carl running with the stick move. He's getting on the out. He's got the inside, the out. He's got press. He can beat it. He's got good release. Don't sleep on Carl. But thank you for the laugh, CC. We appreciate that. And I saw a lot of people saying a little bit bummer about Jason Owa with the Broncos. I mean, guys, they're scouting edge rushers like crazy. If they trade back, I think that's probably the direction they will go. And I think there are 4 that are worthy of a pick in the top 25 with Phillips from Miami, Medicals, asterisks, whatever you want to say. I can't speak to it. Azeez Ojulari, Kwity Paye, and then Jason Owa. You're going to bet on the traits there. I mean, his sacks were not high last year, but he had like 43 pressures in his career and like 23 last year. Pressures translate more than sacks. Sacks fluctuate. So there's that.
Here's my question though against that. Okay. So we talked about this with Clowney, that he was great at getting pressure, but he couldn't finish plays.
Yeah.
Does Owa have the same problem?
Very possibly, but I'm not using the number 1 overall pick on Owa.
Good point.
So I think Clowney's profile, it would be worth the 20th overall selection. And if he hits, okay, or if he hits as much as Clowney, I think that's okay on a rookie contract. But also he has a lot of similar measurables and career path to Daniel Hunter, who only had like 4 sacks his last year before he fell to the 3rd round. So bet on traits, especially with the edge rusher position. There's no position that is more correlated to like, these are the traits that the guys succeed. And they're the ones who are picked early and they end up being good.
All right.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, James Mass coming in here with a $5 super. Oh,
John, what are you doing, John?
That one's on me. We took a little bit there.
Okay.
All right, there we go. I think Atlanta values wide receiver over quarterback. Maybe get Julio Jones replacement. Laugh out loud. Well, I know that more than wide receiver, I've heard that they are linked to a certain tight end, Mr. Pitts from Florida.
Pass catcher.
Yeah, pass catcher. There you go. Weapon. One of those, whatever term you want to use for him. I know that they've been linked pretty hard to him. I think there's a lot of people that have been saying that they're going to look at quarterback because Matt Ryan's getting up there in age, but they just moved his contract where he is locked in for 3 years with big money, big dead money. If they try to cut him or trade him or anything like that, are you really going to have a rookie sit for 3 years? No. You're not, because at the end of that 3rd year, you have to make a decision on that 5th year. And they might not have even seen the field before you have to make that kind of decision. So right now, I'd say yes, there's a good chance that they're going to be looking at a weapon. They've invested big time in the offensive line. They paid a lot of money for some defenders. And so I do think that you'll maybe see them take a pass catcher at some point early in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw the Rams move on from Jared Goff for a huge dead cap money and Carson Wentz for huge dead cap money as well. So if it doesn't work out or they have a younger quarterback who is transcending versus Matt Ryan, who will be inevitably regressing, he's going to be 36 this season, then you may be able to trade him. Maybe that's a team where don't want to be in this situation, but like the Broncos picking 17, Drew Lock flubbed last year, but the rest of the roster carried them to wild card contention. Maybe then you see the Broncos make a move for somebody like Matt Ryan, and they just eat the dead cost because dead cost doesn't hurt so much when, guess what? You have a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract.
Yep.
So we'll see. We got Antonio Aragon coming in here with the cute little dog there. Thank you very much for the super there, Antonio. Appreciate you. Do you take Parsons or a quarterback at 9? If a quarterback, which one? # Broncos country with the orange and baby blue, light blue triangle there, a diamond, excuse me. And also, I think I'm definitely bring back the baby blues. Bring back the D. Just go with the old uniform. I know. Bad luck. Get out of here. I'm here for the aesthetics, baby. If we're not going to win football games, let's at least look good losing. Do you take Parsons or quarterback at 9? I'm not taking Parsons. There's just too much off the field concerns for me for a position that's devalued. Also with limited tape, if he hits, that's great. But every draft pick is already a lottery ticket to an extent. And you're already betting at worse odds with all the character concerns with Micah Parsons. So if he hits, great. Somebody else can take that chance. I was burned too bad by Malik McDowell. I just can't. But the quarterback at 9, if you want a quarterback, maybe Mac Jones is there. I think Mac Jones will probably go at 8 if the Panthers don't trade up beforehand for whoever's out of the big 4 falls like the 5. But I think, I don't know. I think trade down. If the choice is Mac Jones versus Parsons, I don't know what I'm going to pick. Right? Like that's a very hurtful situation that you put me in, Antonio.
Yeah, I guess I'd probably go Mac Jones there just because of the character concerns with Parsons.
Yeah,
and even if you only get the 5 years out of Mac Jones, I mean, I know for using a top 9 pick at the quarterback position, you want that second contract, but at least you can build around the guy and you open a 5-year window for at least being big time playoff contenders with him. I guess that's the direction I'd probably still go in that, because Micah Parsons, the character concerns, he's off my board, honestly. Like maybe if he's there 3rd, 4th round, then I'm like, this is worth a chance at this point. Before that, I'm just going, no, I don't want to touch this guy. He's not worth the risk at that point. So that's what I'm doing. All right, Glenn Hauser coming in here with the $4.99 super chat. Love the family pick there and all the Broncos gear. these next few weeks will be crazier than Knicks do tonight. Hashtag Knicks Gel Fund. Hashtag Carl's First Class Ticket Fund. There we go.
Gel? What is it? The 1990s? Right, we're not using gel anymore these days. Get out of here. It's a hot boy summer right now. Like I got some sort of product in here. I don't know. My wife said, "Here, use this. Be like a little bit of natural curl and waves in there with a little volume." And I said, "You like it? Just like you like my Manscaped Refined Cologne?" All right, I'm in. I don't care. I got hair that I can flaunt. He won't be listening anyway. But my sister's fiance, he's getting a little thin. So I'm like, yeah, man. If you got the hair, you go for it, right? Like that's He says every day, God, please just don't. Like I wear caps a lot. He's like, don't do it. Just enjoy your hair while you have it. So Cody coming in. Speaking of caps, another one. How would you feel about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in a trade back? Speaking of that, Paton and some of the brain trust will be heading to South Bend. Not North Bend, right? South Bend tomorrow, Indiana, to check out Notre Dame's pro day. So they'll probably be watching Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. How would you feel about him in a trade back, Carl?
I mean, I'd feel much better about him in a trade back than I would at pick 9. That's for sure. And he definitely has a skill set that he brings to the table that I do feel like Fangio could figure out a way to scheme him in and to do a few different things. It's just, I don't see him as that true 3-down player that you're looking at, that you can plug in there, know he's going to run your system, that he's going to be that guy for the next 10, 15 years, really, especially at the linebacker position. You kind of like that guy to be your captain of the entire unit that's just directing everyone. And I just don't feel like that's what his job would be. And like I said, he still would have a skill set. His ability to cover, his athleticism is definitely off the charts. His sideline to sideline ability, I mean, it flashes on screen left and right for him. But go ahead.
I just don't know if he's a linebacker in the scheme, right? Like where are you putting him? I think if you were running the Wade Phillips scheme where you have much more cover one and dichotomized safeties, you could easily play him in that TJ Ward role. Like that's where I'd love him. But Vic Fangio doesn't use that box safety. And when he has used that third safety, it's been kind of like out of necessity because your cornerbacks are all injured, right? Like I could see Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah playing the Will Parks role, but like, is that your full-time sub defense, what you're going to use most of the time, the nickel defense? I don't know. Can he play the split field safeties on the back end? I don't know. I do not like him playing in either of the linebacker roles that Alexander Johnson or Josie Jewell occupied. But if they took him and you were looking like, hey, we got a lot of great tight ends in this division, and we need some speed and athleticism and coverage ability over the hash marks, and that guy can do it. I think Fangio would make it work. It's just, it makes me uncomfortable from my position because I haven't got to pick Vic Fangio's brain on it, unfortunately. He hasn't returned my calls. I keep sending him meatballs. He says these are inadequate. So it turns him back. But I don't know. I think I really would prefer like Jamie Davis or Baron Browning in that range. Like if you're trading back, I think more preferably pick 40, but or Zaven Collins even. I think those all are much easier one-for-one scheme fits.
All right. Base Gates coming in here with the $4.99 super chat. Oh, man. Every time I see that face, it just brings a smile and fear to my face all at the same time. Why do people point out Fields' 2 bad games this year, but completely ignore Wilson's serious injury history plus frame? Fields is quarterback 2, hands down. Well, I think this is just wherever your support is. So there's guys that are just those Wilson truthers, that this guy – even top quarterback in this draft. I mean, you just watch some of his creative throws, his sidearm. I mean, he does some things that you're seeing flashes of Mahomes. And so everybody's kind of going, I'm going to ignore all these other issues. And a lot of people do this. They get locked onto their guy and they're just going to ignore all the red flags that are saying, don't go after this guy. Now, I'm not saying don't go after Wilson, but I'm saying, obviously, you got to look at the good and the bad. Fields, yes, he had a couple bad games this year. Indiana, what did he have? 3 interceptions? I think it was. Great. Yeah, Indiana, it was not great. And so you look at those and you say, oh my gosh, there are some issues here. There are times where he doesn't always see the field like you'd like him to see it. There's times that he makes bad decisions. He trusts his arm a little bit too much. And there's times where his mechanics get a little wonky, that they just aren't quite on par with where you'd like them. So you got to look at the good with the bad and say, okay, can we live with the bad? Because some of this is still going to be there. When you draft them, you coach some of that out of them, but there's still going to be some of that there. It's kind of like Drew Lock being the gunslinger. Like there's times you love it. There's times you hate it. It's always going to be there.
Yeah.
And so you have to try to choose, can you live with that when you accept the good?
I think a lot of this conversation and overthinking right now really reflects where we were a year ago with Justin Herbert, right? Like the processing speed, like he's sticking on his first read too long. How translatable is this to the NFL? You know, if the guy has the character and the intelligence on top of the obvious traits, which we saw today in full display, you bet on that every time early. So I like Fields a lot. He'd be my quarterback too, just because I feel like he's safer than Zach Wilson, who has had a shoulder injury, and I think is like Zach Wilson. I know we don't want to run too long today, but like his tape this year, it was good. But like, how often was he under pressure? Like, I don't know what Zach Wilson is under pressure. You're going to be under pressure in the NFL, like just point blank. You cannot have a great offensive line year to year. There's just not enough talent. So I just have concerns. I don't understand how it's like obvious Zach Wilson is number 2, because I think he's right. He's great, but he's right there with Fields and Lance for me. We got Shadowed Jack coming in here. Lock will rock this season, but if we're going quarterback with the 9th pick, I say Trey Lance. Trey Lancer. How high? Mile high. Yeah, I think Trey Lance is probably gone by at least pick 5. So if you want him, I think you have to move up to 5. I guess there's a possibility where Atlanta's like, oh, we got Arthur Smith in here. We love us some tight ends. Kyle Pitts is ours, baby. We're not passing off that. And then you're probably trying to outbid the Cincinnati or the Carolina Panthers to move up to 5 with the Cincinnati Bengals, which who knows at that point, because they sound pretty dang desperate. But here we go. Tim Durr, does Atlanta trade with Carolina? I mean, if Carolina offers something ridiculous, then maybe. But I mean, you'd have to be pretty darn sure that the quarterback that they're taking is not going to be a hit, because that would put you in pain for the next 10 to 15 years. So probably not, guys. Clifton Harris, Broncos for life. Thank you very much, Clifton. Always in the house. We appreciate you, Clifton. Also, I see some comments about the bedroom, guys. It's the wife and I got a nice new king bed, right? This is the guest room in the basement. So don't worry about me. I'm good. I got no qualms here. It's such a good bed too. Oh, it's hard to get up in the morning. We got Glenn coming in here. Nick, can you please DM me your address? Want to send you the Malik McDowell fathead I got on clearance. He was so talented. It's a bummer when I remember meeting him at the combine. Kind of funny story here. I talked with him at the combine, and this was before, masks and social distancing. And I was like, my biggest takeaway, guy needs to invest in a toothbrush and toothpaste and mouthwash, because holy halitosis, Batman. Like that was uncomfortable. I remember texting Eric. Eric will never let it go, because that was my biggest takeaway, is like, that guy's breath stinks. Like I wouldn't want to block him either, because like, don't breathe in my face. But I appreciate that, Glenn. That's a funny one. A little funny story there from some of the combines of old. Do we have any other supers coming on? I know we're at an hour. John said, yep, hold on. He is the man working at it. We got Dehaene coming in here again. If we trade back and go edge round 1, what does this mean for Vaughn and Chubb after 2021? Well, it depends, right? Like, what does Vaughn look like? If Vaughn is great, I'd have no issue tagging him next year and then rolling in with 3 edge rushers again, because guess what? If you're going to win in the AFC West, you better get after the gosh darn quarterback. And having 3 guys, that's great. I know Vic Fangio historically only uses 2 primary guys, but if you have 3 that can work, hallelujah, figure it out.
Yep.
But it also gives you leverage for a contract negotiated with Vaughn and Chubb. It means you don't have to just pull your pants down and say, whatever, like, right? Like, it's speaking of Micah Parsons, Vaughn and Chubb. So you can have contract things either way there. If you have that. And also it's really important. You don't want to be too expensive at one position. You'd have a cost control guy there to supplement whoever is the high paid guy opposite of him. So that's assuming he hits, but still you'd have 4 or 5 years of cost controlled player at a very valuable position. Right.
No,
so that's exactly the Broncos, if they don't go quarterback here, like this roster, it has no holes. Like let's force a need at running back position, even though he's going to be 1A at best, because Melvin Gordon's top 10, top 12 running back still. No, that's bad strategy. Like look to 22 roster. Where do you have potential holes? Von Miller, DeJuan James, safety position, 2 cornerbacks. They're both linebackers. Like that's where you need to be using your assets, because how much did the Broncos rookies this year make a difference? Right? Like how much of them how much did you actually get from KJ Hamler this year? Like how much did you actually get from Michael Ojemudia this year, or Ajim, or Stranad, or Okwuegbunam? Right? Like everybody's like thinking, oh man, we can't use these picks for these things because we have to look at the 2020 roster. Like most of those guys are not going to do much of anything year one. So you need to look ahead towards 2022, 2023, and that opens up the directions you should go.
Right.
Off the pedestal here, because we can't get too long. Jason O'Neill, who saw or heard Tommy Togiai and his impressive bench reps with 40 at 225, not to change the subject. I saw it. Very good run defender, a guy that round 4, I'd be interested. Doesn't offer much as a pass rusher. I know he graded really high at Pro Football Focus. That's actually where I was like, oh, who the heck is this? I better go check him out. I was like, okay, I get it. I see what's going on. And, not really much of you don't really see the traits as much, but strong guy and one that I would be fine taking early day 3. An investment.
All right. We have Cody Potter coming in here with the $2 super chat. You guys going to do a big mock draft like last year? I would guess so.
I would assume. But
yeah. Do you remember who our first round pick was last year?
It was Mekhi Becton. Yep. We pushed hard for that, and somebody, I don't remember who it was, like, oh, Mekhi Becton, that's way too early for him. I'm like, he's pretty good. That's guy's worth a shot. That's another one. You're betting on traits, and while he wasn't Tristan Wirfs last year, I think he was actually better than Jedrick Wills and definitely better than Andrew Thomas. So Broncos probably would have been in a pretty good spot if they had a chance to take Mekhi Becton, but happy with Jerry Jeudy. Wish we could have gotten Tristan Wirfs. Gosh darn it, Shelby Harris batting down the ball. Whatever. Jesse Edrick coming in. Jesse, thank you so much. Ian Rapp said the 49ers considering picking Mac at 3. Thoughts? I'll believe it when I see it.
If there's a coach out there that he could be successful with, it's Shanahan. That guy makes quarterbacks look good. And I do think Mac is a decent fit for what he does. You look at Matt Ryan having success, Jimmy Garoppolo having success. You see some of those same traits in Mac that even Mac he's probably the most athletic of those 3 guys that I just listed. So there's a chance that you could see that happening, and that I think Kyle Shanahan has a certain type of quarterback that he really likes. But at the same time, I think there are times where you really want to have that guy that can do a little bit more. We saw it with the Rams this year. Goff. It's not that he's a bad quarterback. It's just, do you really believe you can get over the top with him? And so I'm really questioning which way the 49ers are going to go with that. You got your traditional Mac Jones that fits, but maybe this guy that can help give you just a little bit more.
Yeah. Speaking of tools versus not, how do you think Kyle Shanahan left the 34-24 game against the Bills, where Josh Allen went 32 for 40, threw for 375 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions? How do you think he felt about that? That's all I could think about coming back to having a really traitsy, arm talent, athletic guy. I think it's going to be Trey Lance, and I could see Justin Fields. I think it's going to be Trey Lance, but again, we'll believe when we see it. If Glenn Hauser coming in again, if McDowell's dental hygiene is that bad, no doubt that he needs the Manscaped coupon code. Absolutely. Gosh, man, I would not probably, let's see, do not eat. So maybe not, but that's a good shout out there. And always, hashtag thank you ad sponsor. John, we got anything else? Okay. Well, guys, we appreciate you very much. Unless anybody's got any last minute super chats, I better get out the, John, you weren't here last week. I pulled out the air horn. So if there's any last minute ones, buzzer beaters, then we get it going. So be ready, because it is loud, folks. I make sure I won't do it directly in there. But that's going to do it. And Carl, stop me, because I am closing us out here. So stop me if a super does come. But guys, it's going to do it for Building the Broncos this week. We appreciate you so much. Every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock Mountain Time, we will be here. Obviously, it's the off season. Things will be a little different with the summer, but we'll try to be here as consistent as possible. Carl and I, Building the Broncos. Make sure you find us both on Twitter at Carl Dumler MHH and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you find John on Twitter at John K MHH. That's JONKAY MHH. Go on over to milehighhuddle.com for all of our written content and community content. I have about 40 articles this month. So Chad hasn't published them all yet, but been very busy. And that's great, because Broncos have had a very fun and optimism-inducing offseason so far. So that's great. Guys, make sure you head on over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and a comment. Also, most important thing you can do for us, like, subscribe, and share if you're joining us on YouTube. Click that little the bell emoji. That's for notifications, so you'll get a ping when we go live, so that way you can join us every single Tuesday at 6, but also all the other shows as well. For Facebook, guys, I see how many we got. 47 right now. Josie Jewell numbers there. for the likes reacts. Maybe we can get it up to 50. 50 is a nice even number, or maybe even 48 for Von Miller when he was with Texas A&M. I'd love to see him go back to 48, but click those thumbs up if you're on Facebook. That really helps us a lot. Doing any of those can help us bring you these shows every single week and help us reach more new audience members. And it's not just this show. It's Chad and Zach with the Huddle Up podcast. It's going blank, Lance and Eric with the Dove Valley Deep Divers, and of course Luke and myself for the Mile High Insiders. So, every single day we're here. And also a shout out to John, who's been filling in for Chad this week while Chad is getting some much needed R&R. So shout out to John for doing that as well. Guys, you can follow us on Twitter at Mile High Huddle and at BTB Football Pod. Carl, you got any plans the rest of the night?
I'm going to go home and get a couple things done with the family because we just got back from vacation. So I got to get everything kind of cleaned up and organized. And then I'm going to come back and work because, it's kind of my busy week for work.
Okay.
Little thing called Easter gets a little crazy. So I've got things Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for different things going on. So a little busy this week.
Also, we got to 51. You guys are the best. We really do appreciate that. I'm right there at the end. That is fantastic. You guys really helped me a lot. I wish I could pull up Mr. Boggins, Justin Fields bit again, but it's way up on the chat. I won't get there in time, but thanks guys very much. We'll see what the Broncos do. Either way, it's going to be exciting and thought-provoking, and we'll have a lot to say, and you guys will have a lot to say about it, and we'll all talk it through together. Stay safe, everyone. God bless. Go Broncos.